I'm gonna jump in for 2 seconds to answer it also. You talk about acts of Parvez, a tragedy, yes. What about violence against women outside of Muslim South Asian culture? Doesn't it happen? I'm going to quickly say something about it because I got into this whole subject of honor and all that through the issue of domestic violence. Domestic violence in this country is violence between intimate partners, and it's about sexual partners that have intimacy issues, both heterosexuals and homosexuals. I just want to say that it's bilateral. The death rate from domestic violence in Canada is about 40 women a year and about 20 men a year. There's male on female, female on male. Just to keep it in perspective, Raheel, your figures on Pakistan are official figures of honor killings. They are extremely low. Some observers put it as high as 5,000 a year. So let's keep that in perspective. It's an extremely different phenomenon. Of course it happens, but it is not sexual terrorism. Over to you, Natasha.
This issue comes up all the time about describing something as an honor killing versus domestic violence. There is something so disgusting and insidious about an honor killing. It is a strategy planned out. And in Aksa's case specifically, it was the father, the brother, and the mother who had planned out how they were going to kill their 16-year-old daughter or sister. There is no comparison. It is an issue of the honor of the family. It is a political issue. I mean, I don't understand why, if we call one an honor killing, that in some way we're saying that domestic abuse is not as bad. No one is saying that. But you need to understand the difference. There's a big difference. This is culturally sanctioned. They tell you to do this. There are imams and mullahs that tell you, beat your daughters. There are imams and mullahs telling you how to hit your daughters, how to train your daughters to be well behaved. I had dinner with a lawyer in Windsor. This is a lawyer, a man that practices the law of this country, who said he didn't have a problem with honor killings because if one of his daughters misbehaved, he might have to do the same thing. Guys, they're told it's accepted.
It's religiously sanctioned.
Yes, it's their responsibility. So one doesn't negate the other, but the minute someone thinks it's a matter of honor, it is an honor killing. It's a very serious issue.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. We have a whole bunch of questions. I'm going to read, get your pencils out, and you're going to decide which one you want to ask. I'm just going to read a whole bunch of questions, so I want everybody in the room to know what everybody's thinking. We may not get to all the answers, but how's that, Meryl? Shall we just... Okay, one question. Of course, burqas should be banned, but this can often lead to women being taken out of society by controlling people in their families. How do we ban the burqa or hijab, but still ensure Muslim women participate in society? That's one question. Another question. We don't talk about it due to political correctness. Europe is in a civil war because of its open immigration policies. Germany, the UK, France, and Holland have scrapped multiculturalism. Should Canada adopt the American melting pot? Why do we allow the 1982 Charter of Rights and Freedoms to repress the majority in the name of, to the detriment of Canadian values? Another question. Natasha, you congratulate Stephen Harper on naming Islamism as the greatest threat facing the West. This is despite the fact that Muslim terror attempts have been steadily decreasing over the past 10 years in the US, and given the existence of Christian terrorists like Timothy McVeigh and others. Okay, so that's a question. Yeah, okay. Why does the left in Canada support the Iranian regime and Islamism in general here in Canada, despite the treatment of women under such regimes? And it specifically references Marion Boyd as Attorney General. How can we affect change in a practical way when the left is so entrenched in its support of the regimes? That's not the only one that asks, what can we do? One question is, what 3 actions can each of us take in the next 3 months to help you? What organizations are there to join? Can you elaborate on what white women should do? Political correctness does exist, but does exist, but sorry, is something about don't want to be considered, people don't want to be considered racist. Is there an organization we can join to give support? A woman in a burqa, is it against their law to take their picture? Turkey is understood to be a secular state. Would you comment on what is happening in the country? Is this a homegrown or imported pro-Islam bent, or any comment about Turkey? I'm sorry, there's one more. Any infant, as we all were, is an extension of the mother who has tremendous power to modulate that infant boy, that he is and nor ever should be more than his sister, and that a girl is never any less. Do you think future grandmothers will raise better grandsons? Good question. Okay. All right, so take any, have at it.
Okay, I'll take the last one first because I'm a grandmother.
Yeah.
Yes. I believe the next generation is going to be very different. I want to very quickly share with you, I grew up in that oppressive Pakistani culture. My sons are very different. They've grown up here in Canada. They have seen equality in the family. And I have 2 Mexi-Paki Kanak grandsons. So they straddle 3 cultures and 2 faiths. And I think it's the most wonderful example of what the future of Canada is going to be. So yes, women, how they bring up their sons, it's very important because we are the teachers and that's where they learn. So education not in terms of secular education only. When I say education, I mean enlightenment, vision, is very important for women all over the world, including myself. We are on a journey to bring up more egalitarian boys. And I'll quickly take another question on the burqa ban. No, it won't ghettoize the women. If it is banned, they will learn to deal with the situation because the burqa is not only a social problem, they're ghettoized because they're in the burqa. Are they going to be, is a woman in a burqa with a face covered going to be a school teacher? Is she going to work in a bank? There are very few jobs that she's going to get, but once there is a ban and she is forced in the public to take it off, and her community and her leaders and the imams have to tell her that it is okay, she's not going to burn in hell if she takes off a face covering, that it is not religious, she will then learn to live and adapt with society. But until there is this wishy-washy idea that no, it's okay and we can let them do it because they are them and we are us, it's never going to work.
Okay, I'll handle the question about the rampant Christian fundamentalist problem that apparently we're all dealing with. So I just think it's no disrespect, I think it's a dishonest argument. Timothy McVeigh or Anders, whatever his name was in Norway, I mean, you can't compare those two to tens of thousands of big and small and daily acts of terror by Islamists, and usually against other Muslims. It's become so common, the Islamist agenda, to kill other Muslims in places like Pakistan or the Sudan, that we don't even talk about it. We don't report it. There was a bombing today in Karachi. We were both from Karachi. Rahil's close friends and neighbors live in that neighborhood. I have a cousin that lives in that neighborhood. How many people died today? 8 people died today? Like, I mean, for every one Christian example you're going to bring up, that's not an organized movement. We have an organized Islamist jihadi agenda that is lurking its way through every corner of our planet. You can call us fearmongers if you want, but we see it. And we are privy to the private conversations in households that most of you folks will not be privy to. It is an issue. They are organized, they have an agenda. They're handing out those Islamic textbooks, as you mentioned, at Dundas Square, and no one challenges them. You can't, it's not right. And the attitude of Muslims when that Norway attack happened, and we all thought it was going to be a Muslim, and we were all sitting there praying, I know I was, please don't let it be a Muslim, please don't let it be a Muslim, because we don't need another headache. And it wasn't a Muslim. And I just quietly said, okay, good. But then, Twitter went insane with other Muslims saying, see, you blame Muslims for everything. Well, it's not us, it's you guys are the problem. How disgusting can you be to take joy from that? To have a smug attitude of superiority because of that? It's dishonest to say that it's an equal problem. Islamism as a political movement is a real threat and danger.
I'm going to address something else. I can talk about that as well, but I'm going to address something else. The question that, about the melting pot and about political correctness and that sort of thing. I'm an immigrant in this country, and a lot of my friends, actually the majority of my friends from Iran, again, because Christians were a minority, they are Muslim. So the majority of my friends are Muslim. And my friends, and there are many of them, I would say at least 100, they are severely against this whole situation of Islamism. Why? Because they lived in Iran. Because they lived under Sharia law, because they lost their daughters and their sons and their wives and their husbands and their mothers and their fathers to this situation. Why did we come here? Why on earth did we come here? If we loved what was happening to us in Iran, why would we even be here? We suffered there. We came here to have freedom, justice, democracy, and hopefully a voice. Now, many of us are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, but so not necessarily everybody is talking. But we don't feel that we are in a melting pot here. And that's not because of the Canadian political correctness. No. Because me and my friends, when we came here, we just wanted to be left alone to practice whatever religion we wanted in the privacy of our homes. We wanted to live in a secular society that would allow us to be what we wanted. There's, what we talk about as political correctness basically is stopping us from questioning ideas. And that is not a good thing because it is a form of censorship. We are basically censoring ourselves. And it is not okay because censorship is a vicious cycle. Once you allow it to take root, then everybody is afraid of saying everything. So tomorrow, what you are not afraid to say today, you're going to be afraid of saying it because you think, oh, I might lose my job. Oh, what are people going to think about me? Oh my goodness, I'm going to be called an Islamophobe or whatever. And that is not okay. I don't know why we think that living in a secular society and being allowed to voice our opinions in a respectful manner, of course, is against having different cultures living side by side in a country? That sounds so illogical. Who came up with this idea? That's just ridiculous.
Anybody going to? I think people really want to know what they can do and where they can join and what they can do to support. And let's get practical.
Okay.
Let's get practical.
Okay. What I would suggest, and I wouldn't say this is just for white women, I think it is for everyone, all Canadians, men, women, every color of the rainbow. First of all, as I said, to understand that this is a common problem. Secondly, not to let political correctness hold them back from speaking out and critiquing those things that are wrong. And I think all three of us have very clearly pointed out that the balance between the extremes is very important, that we know what we are talking about. Educate yourself about the problems with balance to understand that all Muslims are not the enemy, but what the problem is. You have to narrow it down to the problem and then we can deal it. It is the Salafi Wahhabi ideology coming from Saudi Arabia. We have to question the funding that is coming for mosques and Muslim organizations. You have to empower your political reps, whoever they are, and this, my friends, is beyond politics. Whether you're a liberal or conservative or an NDP or a greener or a redder, it doesn't matter. This is something that impacts all of us together. So put aside your political, aspirations and lobby everyone that you vote for to ask the right questions and to stop supporting the import of Wahhabism into Canada on the back of these petrodollars that is coming, because it is harming all of us. Ask the right questions. Stand up for your rights as well, the right to celebrate Christmas and say Merry Christmas, which is being taken away from so many people, or to say Happy Hanukkah and celebrate with everybody else. So not to allow one particular group to get extra accommodation. It is an issue of overall